Hmm. Which one should I? Well, I don't know why this is part of it. I don't know why this part of the option. Which one should I watch? These five. Hmm. Let's do this. Evolution game console. Excuse me. What is up, my McLary's? It's MI2.8, and we're here with another reaction. Evolution of game console from the 80s to now. Man, I miss old game consoles. I mean, I got it now. The PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5. Not well, PS4 right there. I just don't got no. I just don't got no cord with it. I mean, I do with the PS5, but anyway, problem is when you don't have like update video. Oh, and I got a PSP as well. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know why I point over there. You guys can't see me pointing. You guys can see my direction. I'm looking to the right. I'm looking to the left over there. You guys can see. So, oh, oh, hopefully it grow back in a week or two. I got an interview coming Friday, so we'll look at that. It's like it's a temporary job though, so it's kind of like contract job. So we'll see how it goes. Anyway, evolution of game consoles. Like, go ahead, react to it.
Some consoles changed gaming forever, others
Yes,
crashed and burned. But
yeah.
every single one left its mark and pushed the industry forward. From the world's first home console in the 70s to the PlayStation 5, Xbox.
Oh yeah, this is off topic, but I did say this in the last video with the boys. Um, Homelander, the game for Mercy, crying like, hey, listen, I'll, I'll eat your shit, I'll suck it. Like, bruh, that was perfect. That was such a perfect because I never said this in the last video. He was such a bully. He's a bully. He's an asshole. He think he's God. When he loses power, everything changed. He don't know how to fight. He begging. He's scared. And Billy, it was satisfying seeing him die like that. Not Billy, Homelander. Billy almost made me cry. Still,
Series X.
I'm glad he didn't kill like Frenchie, well, RP Frenchie, Emil or Kimmy, because that how Billy the comic book killed Emil first, Kimiko and Frenchie. Terror that one of the superhero Black Noir, Homelander clone killed him. But in console.
And Nintendo Switch 2, let's explore how
Are they gonna
consoles
make
have
the Force
evolved
video game?
through every generation.
I did Invincible first. I need to play that. Oh wow, that's so
This is the evolution of game consoles.
cool. Look how good. First generation.
Long before PlayStation, Nintendo, or modern gaming, one engineer asked a
That's why I like
question
those like
that would
it.
change entertainment forever. Could a television play games? In 1966, engineer Ralph Henry Bayer believed it could. Working at a military electronics company, he convinced his bosses to let him try. He built the Brown Box, a simple prototype with dots and lines on screen. The invention was patented and licensed to Magnavox, which transformed it into the Magnavox Odyssey, the world's first home game console. It launched in North America in September 1972 for about $100. The console came with two wired controllers and simple game cards instead of cartridges, allowing players to switch between different games. In total, it offered 28 games, from cat and mouse to table tennis, the title that later inspired the hugely successful Pong. The Magnavox Odyssey was revolutionary. It proved video games could be a real industry, and the race had begun. It did not take long for new players to enter the home console market. Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney, creators of the first arcade game Computer Space in 1971, saw table tennis on the Odyssey and thought they could do better. So in 1972, they founded Atari and created Pong. It had just two paddles, one square ball, and the iconic boop sound. So simple a child could learn it, and so addictive, adults refused to stop. Players went wild. Pong machines were packed, and arcade owners had to empty the coin boxes multiple times a day. One early test unit even stopped working because it was filled with too many quarters, suffering from success. To push that success further, Atari released a home version of Pong in 1975 and sold about 150,000 units. But an even bigger hit was the Coleco Telstar. It brought digital versions of hockey, handball, and tennis into living rooms across the country. It became the winner of the first console generation, with over 1 million units sold. By comparison, the Odyssey sold around 350,000. The first console generation proved gaming could work. And now the real battle for living rooms was about to begin. Fun fact, when the Magnavox Odyssey launched, playing games on a TV was a completely new idea for most people. Many mistakenly believed they needed a special Magnavox television to use it, even though it worked with almost any TV. This confusion hurt sales and became a key reason the console never achieved greater success. While the first generation of consoles had very simple black and white graphics and basic controls, the second generation brought revolutionary changes: cartridges, 8-bit processors, color graphics, and joysticks. That new era began in 1976 when Jerry Lawson created the Fairchild Channel F, with the F standing for fun. It became the first home console powered by a microprocessor and the first to use ROM cartridges called video carts. It was expensive and had only a small game library, including tic-tac-toe and video blackjack. Though often forgotten, the Channel F introduced a game-changing idea. You could swap games without buying a whole new console. But then came a console that brought gaming into millions of homes, the Atari 2600. It changed the game, literally. Released at $199, around $1,000 today, expensive, but still flying off shelves. It used
$1,000? Atari? Look it up right now. I gotta go on Google. No way it cost me It don't even cost a lot of money. It costs like around $100, 150. $1,000. Like, what Atari are you talking about?
swap games without buying a whole new
I'm gonna
console.
stop it.
But then came a console that brought gaming into millions of homes, the Atari 2600. It changed the
That's what I'm
game,
getting right now.
literally. Released at $199, around $1,000 today, expensive, but still flying off shelves. It used swappable game cartridges and the iconic joystick
Who's selling it for $1,000?
controller. Suddenly, players could now enter new worlds from their living room. You could fight aliens, explore dungeons, jump over crocodiles, and even play arcade hits like Pac-Man at home. The arcade was no longer down the street, it was sitting under your TV. But Atari allowed almost anyone to publish games, flooding the market with low-quality titles. The worst was E.T., rushed out for Christmas 1982. It became a disaster and helped trigger the video game crash of 1983. Atari even buried hundreds of thousands of unsold copies in the desert. But before Atari crashed the whole market, other companies rushed in to copy its success. Mattel's Intellivision brought home versions of arcade hits like Donkey Kong and Pac-Man, though many ports were questionable. It also featured one of the first licensed sports games, NFL football. and sold around 3 million units. Meanwhile, ColecoVision pushed better graphics and stronger arcade ports, selling about 2 million units. Still, none came close to Atari. By the time production ended in 1992, an incredible 30 million Atari 2600 consoles had been sold, showing how big gaming had become. The 2600 defined gaming in the late 70s and early 80s, but it was nothing compared to what was about to come. Fun fact, Atari took a big risk with the 2600. They lost money on every console sold, hoping to earn the money back from selling games. The risk paid off and changed the pricing strategy for consoles. Even modern consoles like the PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X were also sold at a loss when they first launched. The third generation brought better graphics and the birth of legendary franchises. Enter Nintendo. In 1983, Nintendo launched the Famicom. This small red and white console quickly took over Japan. It was affordable, and more importantly, it came with great games. Unlike Atari, Nintendo enforced strict quality control, only approving games that met its standards. In 1985, the system arrived in North America as the Nintendo Entertainment System, better known as the NES. Stores still feared video games after the crash, so Nintendo sold it as a futuristic toy, even adding the robot Rob and a light gun to make it feel less like just a game console. But the real magic was the games. Super Mario Bros. Reinvented what a video game could be, with big, colorful worlds, hidden secrets, and smooth controls. Mario basically kicked the door open, rescued the princess, and claimed the living room. Then came more classics, like The Legend of Zelda, Metroid, and Mega Man. The NES did not just revive gaming, it launched the Golden Age. Nintendo also introduced features we still use today, like the D-pad and the ability to save your game, so progress finally survived. The NES became a legend, but it also launched the first true console war. You see, Nintendo was not the only Japanese company chasing success in gaming. On the very same day the Famicom was launched in 1983, Sega released its own console, the SG-1000. Even at the same price, Sega's machine could not match the Famicom in power or games. An updated version, the SG-1000 Mark II, swapped the built-in joystick for detachable controllers. But sales remained weak. But in 1985, Sega tried again with the Mark III, and this time it was a major upgrade. Released worldwide as the Sega Master System, it was more powerful than the NES and brought games like Phantasy Star and Wonder Boy 3: The Dragon's Trap. Sega even found strong success in Europe, where the Master System outsold the NES. Still, it arrived late and cost more. But one thing was clear, Sega came to compete, and the console war had begun. If you thought Atari was dead and buried, it was not done yet. The Atari 5200 launched in 1982, but it failed badly compared to the 2600. Trying to fight back against the NES and Sega Master System, Atari released the 7800 in 1986. Surprisingly, the European version was different and even shipped with another controller. The Atari 7800 was the first console with backward compatibility. Atari had learned from its mistakes, so every game now had to be approved. It was also cheaper than its rivals. But the hardware already felt outdated. The library was small with only 59 games, compared to about 360 on the Master System and more than 700 on the NES. While Mario was saving kingdoms and Link was saving Hyrule, Atari was still hoping Pac-Man could carry the team. In the end, there was only one clear winner of the third generation, the NES, with about 62 million units sold worldwide. The Sega Master System reached 20 million, while the Atari 7800 fell far behind with fewer than 4 million. Probably because they were still busy burying their ET games. But this was just the start. The console war between Nintendo and Sega would soon reach whole new levels. Fun fact, Nintendo almost partnered with Atari to launch the Famicom in North America. The plan was simple. Atari would sell the console under its own name and pay Nintendo a royalty on every unit. But the deal collapsed. Instead, Nintendo went solo, launched the NES itself, and soon took over the industry Atari once dominated. The fourth generation became the peak of the console wars. Systems jumped from 8-bit to 16-bit. Graphics and sound improved fast, and developers pushed bold new hardware ideas, some winning big while others failed. In 1987, a new challenger arrived, the TurboGrafx 16, called the PC Engine outside North America. In Japan, it exploded in popularity and even became the country's best-selling console for a while. The system helped push gaming into the 16-bit era, raising the bar for graphics and sound. It stood out right away. Instead of bulky cartridges, it used slim cue cards. And it had strong games like Bonk's Adventure and the arcade hit R-Type. The console launched at $200, but the company aimed higher, too high. They released the Turbo CD, one of the first CD add-ons, years ahead of Sega. The tech was impressive, but the price was steep at $400. Meanwhile, Nintendo still ruled the console world, but
there's no way these consoles cost a dollar deep. It don't cost a lot of money like Amazon. Well, let me check on eBay. Let me check on eBay. They are. I'm gonna check Atari. Bro, they don't cost a lot of money on here. Where do people buy Atari that cost $1,000? Or any console that costs
Sega hit back in 1989 with the Genesis, called the Mega Drive outside North America, and Sega did not arrive quietly. The Genesis was not just more powerful than the NES, it felt cooler, faster, and more rebellious. Sega's marketing pushed attitude and took direct shots at Nintendo.
Free, Super Monaco GP free, or Collins free. What Nintendo?
Their new mascot, Sonic the Hedgehog, became Mario's perfect rival. A blue speedster built to show off the system's blast processing and give players a sense of speed they had never seen before. The battle was on. Sega backed it up with real hits like Streets of Rage, Castlevania, Bloodlines, and Mortal Kombat, complete with blood and brutal finishers.
Raiden wins.
Nintendo answered in 1991 with the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. The SNES delivered rich 16-bit graphics and Mode 7, a graphics trick that could spin and scale the world, making games like F-Zero feel almost 3D. Its library was so legendary it felt like a Hall of Fame. Super Mario World, The Legend of Zelda, A Link to the Past, Super Metroid, and Donkey Kong Country. Sega tried to push the Genesis further with add-ons like the Sega CD, which used CDs and offered about 100 times more storage than cartridges, and the 32X, which added 32-bit support, but both upgrades mostly confused buyers and drained Sega's money. Sega was not the only company betting on CDs. In 1991, a new rival entered the race, Dutch electronics giant Philips. Its system, the CDI, was not built as a normal game console. Philips sold it as the future of the living room, one box for movies, education, and games. In reality, it mostly delivered a library of bad games. The console was not only expensive, but also weak. Many games ran slowly, and the controller looked more like a TV remote than something made for gaming. Nintendo also saw the potential of CDs and had planned an SNES CD add-on with Sony. But at the last minute, Nintendo switched to a deal with Philips instead. That agreement let Philips use official Nintendo characters on the CDI, which gave the world Hotel Mario and the infamous Zelda CDI games. Nintendo soon regretted the choice. Their characters were handled so poorly, it almost felt like abuse. And Sony, furious over the betrayal, soon entered the market as a major competitor. And that is how the PlayStation was born. Oops. Needless to say, the CDI failed terribly, selling fewer than 1 million units. Meanwhile, the TurboGrafx 16 sold around 10 million units. But the real fight was between Sega and
Yeah. I wonder
Nintendo.
how Sega would
Even
do
though the
if they have
Sega
these big
Genesis
exits at
launched
console.
earlier and cheaper than the SNES, Nintendo won the generation, selling about 49 million consoles compared to roughly 35 million for the Genesis. In the end, the real winners of the console war were the players. The battle between Sega
buy
and
both
Nintendo pushed both companies to innovate faster, keep prices competitive, and most of all, create
Wonder how
better
much a game
games.
costs.
Fun fact, while the SNES and
$60.
Sega Genesis ruled the fourth generation in sales, they were not the most powerful. That title belonged to the Neo Geo. It was sold
is
as a
a Neo
24-bit
Geo?
home system, and it brought true arcade games home with the exact quality. The problem was the price. The console launched at $650, and many games cost over $200. Technically incredible, financially terrifying.
Here we go. Fifth generation.
The fifth generation raised the stakes. Power jumped to
What's wrong
32
with
and 64 bits. Cartridges gave way to CDs, and new analog sticks gave players smooth, precise control. But most importantly, for the first time, games stepped into true 3D worlds. One of the first consoles to leap into this new CD-driven 3D era was the 3DO. Led by Trip Hawkins, the founder of Electronic Arts, it was a powerful system with full-motion video, CD-quality sound, and early 3D graphics that made the SNES and Sega Genesis feel old overnight. But when it launched in 1993, it cost $700. For that price, you could buy both a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo.
It's going on. Golly. What's I bruh? This is in 1993 to 2000. Hey,
CD quality sound, and early 3D graphics
What?
that made the SNES and Sega Genesis feel old overnight. But when it launched in 1993, it cost $700. For that price, you could buy both a Sega Genesis and a Super Nintendo and still have plenty of money left for games.
It
To be
only cost
fair,
a lot of
some
money
games
even back
looked
then.
far more advanced than anything on a 16-bit console. Need for Speed started on the 3DO. Road Rash showed off true full-motion crashes. And Gex made his debut here, but most of the library still failed to impress. That same year, Atari made one last push with the Jaguar, sold as the world's first 64-bit console. In truth, it was hard to program. The 64-bit claim was mostly marketing, and the controller looked bizarre. A few games like Tempest 2000 and Alien vs. Predator stood out, but the small library doomed it. The Jaguar flopped and became Atari's worst-selling console. Sega aimed higher with the Saturn. Launched in Japan in late 1994, it was a 2D beast with fighters like X-Men vs. Street Fighter, and it could handle 3D too with games like Virtua Fighter 2. Trying to beat Sony, Sega rushed the Saturn into North America 4 months early. At E3 1995, they revealed it was already on sale for $399. Retailers were unprepared, developers were not ready, and players got a tiny launch lineup. To make it worse, Sony walked on stage right after and replied with one number that crushed Sega.
$299.
Then Nintendo stumbled with one of its biggest flops, the Virtual Boy. Built by Game Boy creator Gunpei Yokoi, it tried to bring affordable virtual reality to everyone using a stereoscopic 3D display. But the problems piled up fast. The screen showed only red and black. The awkward stand forced players to lean into it. And Nintendo even warned users to take breaks because it could cause serious headaches. Nintendo tried to build the future and accidentally built a headache machine. The Virtual Boy bombed and was pulled from shelves in less than a year. Then it was time for a legend to be born. The shift from cartridges to CDs and from 2D to 3D had been messy. But Sony was ready to get it right with a console built to crush the competition. In 1994 in Japan, And 1 year later worldwide, the PlayStation launched. Suddenly, players explored full 3D worlds, heard real voice acting, and played games that felt like Hollywood blockbusters. Final Fantasy VII brought epic scale and cinematic scenes. Metal Gear Solid pushed stealth and story. Resident Evil made survival horror huge, and hits like Crash Bandicoot, Gran Turismo, and Tekken kept rolling in. Meanwhile, Nintendo tried again in 1996 with its 64-bit console, the Nintendo 64. It still used cartridges, but it was $100 cheaper than the PlayStation and featured some of the most iconic games ever made, including Super Mario 64, Mario Kart 64, the original Super Smash Bros., and The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time. It also became the go-to console for split-screen multiplayer, with GoldenEye 007 teaching a whole generation how to camp in bathrooms. Even though the N64 lagged far behind the PlayStation, it still produced many classics people play to this day. But the sales told the real story. The Atari Jaguar collapsed at about 150,000 units. Game over for the Atari in the console race. The Sega Saturn never quite recovered from Sony's mic drop, selling around 9.3 million units. After the Virtual Boy disaster at roughly 770,000, Nintendo recovered with the N64, selling a solid 33 million units. Still, it was no match for the PlayStation, which became the first ever console to surpass 100 million units sold, and the real PlayStation era was only about to begin. By the late 90s, consoles became far more powerful. Online gaming connected players worldwide, and 3D graphics reached new heights. At the same time, a powerful new competitor entered the console war. In 1998, Sega tried once again to jump ahead of its rivals with the Dreamcast. Instead of standard CDs, it used higher capacity GD-ROM discs, and its 128-bit graphics let games like Soul Calibur and Crazy Taxi look stunning at home, even beating arcade visuals. A strong lineup of bold titles like Shenmue and Sonic Adventure helped build early momentum, while Phantasy Star Online introduced the first online console RPG. For a moment, it felt like Sega was finally back. But the comeback did not last. The system was easy to pirate. Major publishers like EA stayed away, and the low $200 price meant Sega lost money on each unit. By 2001, the Dreamcast was discontinued, and Sega stepped away from the console business for good. Meanwhile, Sony kept its momentum with the PlayStation 2, launching what would become the best-selling console of all time. It was more powerful than anything else on the market and backed by an enormous game library. Beloved franchises like Ratchet and Clank, God of War, and Jak and Daxter all began on the PlayStation 2, while huge series such as Grand Theft Auto, Gran Turismo, and Final Fantasy grew even bigger thanks to the console's power. The PS2 also moved from CDs to DVDs, letting it play movies as well as games, while supporting online play and far more detailed 3D visuals. At a time when DVD players were still expensive, paying $299 for one device that handled both films and top-tier games felt like an easy choice for many households. But then a new major player entered the game. In 2001, Microsoft launched the Xbox. At launch, it was the most powerful console on the market, closer to a gaming PC than any console before it. Its launch title, Halo Combat Evolved, was not just another shooter, it was the shooter, turning the Xbox into an instant must-have. It did not rely on Halo alone. Fable let players choose between good and evil. Splinter Cell focused on sneaking past guards in the shadows. And Star Wars: Knight of the Old Republic let players rise as the ultimate Jedi or Sith. Then, Xbox Live launched in 2002, revolutionizing online console gaming with its high-speed connections, voice chat, smooth matchmaking, and your own gamer tag, beating the competition by years. The Xbox proved Microsoft could compete at the highest level and set the stage for a three-way rivalry between Microsoft, Sony, and Nintendo that continues today. Speaking of Nintendo, they released the GameCube, finally moving from cartridges to optical discs. But its mini discs stored far less data than DVDs. so many games had to be compressed or had features cut. Still, it delivered incredible titles like Super Smash Bros. Melee, Super Mario Sunshine, and The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. But it was not enough to win. The GameCube sold about 22 million units, beating the Sega Dreamcast at around 9 million, yet the new Xbox passed it with more than 24 million. Far above them all stood the PlayStation 2, which ruled the era and became the best-selling console of all time with over 160 million sold. The PS2 was not competing, it was dominating. Then it was time for the next generation, and Nintendo was prepared for a massive comeback. Fun fact, breaking into the console market was incredibly expensive for Microsoft. The Xbox launched at $299, even though it cost about $425 to make. In total, Microsoft lost an astonishing $4 billion just to enter the console wars. A massive gamble, but it put them in the fight. The seventh generation pushed gaming into the HD era. Online play exploded, motion controls arrived, and digital downloads changed how people bought games. Microsoft fired the opening shot in 2005 with the Xbox 360, launching a full year before the PlayStation 3 and grabbing early momentum. The sleek white console felt fast and modern, with a smooth dashboard right from startup. Great games plus Xbox Live made it massively popular. Gears of War delivered intense cover shooting. Oblivion opened a huge fantasy world, and Halo 3 wrapped up Master Chief's fast trilogy with massive online battles. But the Xbox 360 was not without problems. The Red Ring of Death caused major hardware failures and cost Microsoft over $1 billion in repairs and replacements. Once fixed, the Xbox 360 and its later models became a force to be reckoned with. When the PlayStation 3 arrived in 2006, it was packed with futuristic tech. It had a Blu-ray drive, the powerful cell processor, built-in Wi-Fi, and a free online network. But all of it came at a price. With a starting price of $499, it was far more expensive than the Xbox 360. To make matters worse, the early PS3 game library was weak, but Sony did not back down. They cut prices, released slimmer models, and doubled down on strong exclusives. Soon, the PS3 built an incredible lineup with Uncharted 2, The Last of Us, God of War 3, and Demon's Souls. Like the Xbox 360, it also faced major problems. The PlayStation Network hack in 2011 shut the service down for weeks and exposed millions of accounts. Still, Sony recovered and slowly rebuilt players' trust. Instead of trying to beat rivals with raw power, Nintendo chose a different path. In 2006, they launched the Wii.
I mean, is that really their fault? I mean, yeah.
The Wii introduced motion controls, letting people play in a completely new way. Instead of pressing buttons, you swung your arm. It was simple, fun, and suddenly Mario was not just saving the princess, he was getting the whole family off the couch. Wii Sports created endless bowling nights and tennis battles. Wii Fit turned living rooms into home gyms. And the console also delivered hits like Super Mario Galaxy, Zelda Twilight Princess, and Smash Bros. Brawl. The Wii was a massive success, selling over 101 million units. Its impact was so huge that Sony followed with the PlayStation Move and Microsoft with the Kinect. The Wii crushed the PlayStation 3 and the Xbox 360, even without HD graphics. That is wild. More importantly, it brought gaming to the masses, from teenage girls to grandparents, introducing it to people who had never picked up a controller before. The 8th generation reshaped gaming with subscriptions, 4K graphics, and hybrid consoles that changed how people played. It became an era of huge failures, but also enormous wins. The generation began in late 2012 with Nintendo's Wii U. The idea was bold, but the confusing name and marketing made many people think it was just a Wii accessory, even with great games like Mario Kart 8, Super Mario 3D World, and Splatoon. The system never recovered and became a commercial flop. While Nintendo struggled, Sony moved in the opposite direction. Learning from the troubled PS3 launch, they kept the PlayStation 4 simple in 2013.
old. All right, let's continue, y'all. Honestly, what's what's the next console going to be after? What's the next console going to be after Xbox Series X? Because for Nintendo, I mean, look at Nintendo. They did NES, they did Super Nintendo, they did Nintendo 64, then they went to GameCube, Wii U, Nintendo Switch, Nintendo Switch 2, and now what's going to be the next one? The PlayStation is PS1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Then the Xbox, Xbox 3, Xbox 2, Xbox 3, Xbox One, now Xbox Series S. What would the next console be for my? I don't know. Also, the PS3 era, I like it. That was my first time actually started playing games. I was in the PS2 and the Xbox, and I was really playing games like. But yeah, I don't
It
know.
was powerful,
But
easy for
PS4 though,
developers to build for, and
PS4 won.
fully
I wanted
focused
this
on
too.
games. That decision paid off fast. The PS4 delivered some of the biggest exclusives in gaming, including
Also, God of War 20, one of my top 10 games. Um, I never said this, but I didn't even think about it. Esports and Super Mario Brothers were every one of my favorite not top 10, but honorable mentions. Nintendo deserved to win that. What else? I forgot that Wii was a thing because like I would think about PlayStation for Xbox. I forgot Wii was part of it. But yeah. Anyway,
God of War, Horizon Zero Dawn, and Marvel's Spider-Man. It became an instant hit.
top 10 game as well. But Horizon, I never beat Horizon. That game is so. I don't know about playing the second one. I would plan on getting the second one. So I leave. The game just. So what I'm doing right now, I'm just doing side quest. It's just boring. It's just boring. I don't want to start back over either because I don't want to like go through all this all over again. Okay, let's continue.
Hit, even setting a record as the fastest selling console in its first
Oh
24
wow, really?
hours, and the success only kept growing. Turns out gamers really like games. Who knew? Sony's early dominance was helped by Microsoft's disastrous Xbox One
Yeah,
launch.
Fortnite.
Players were furious to hear it cost $100 more, had strict rules for sharing games, forced them to buy the Kinect, and even required a constant internet connection. Instead of leading with games, Microsoft pushed it as an all-in-one home entertainment system. Players asked for Halo. Microsoft offered cable TV. Kinect was later dropped and the policies were reversed, but the damage was already done. Still, the console built a strong library with games like PUBG Battlegrounds, Forza Horizon 4, and Halo 5. One game, however, dominated both platforms,
It literally
Grand
just
Theft
Grand
Auto
Theft Auto.
5. Both companies also released upgraded systems for 4K.
What I'm about to say though, Xbox already lost. Like, what will be the next game for an Xbox exclusive game? Because first for Forza Horizon game, it's now on PlayStation. And then Gears of War, first Gears of War game is on PlayStation. And now you have Halo, it's on PlayStation. Coming this year, which is insane. Like, bro, Xbox lost. Like, Xbox should not be a console. I'm not just hating on it either. I'm not hating on it console. I had an Xbox 3. I still got an Xbox 360 over there. I just don't play it because I don't got a controller with it. I don't really care about that much. But it's nostalgia to me. And the OG Xbox, also nostalgia. I like the starter of it. I love it. I like the games that have that. I played on it before as well. Dad had it before. But I feel like Xbox just stop making consoles. Like not leave my left ear is ringing. I don't know with my headphone, but they should just stop making consoles. In my opinion.
Gaming, the Xbox One X, and the PS4 Pro. But just when it seemed like Nintendo had fallen behind after the Wii U failure, they came back strong in 2017 with the Nintendo Switch, a console you could dock to your TV or take on the go. Players loved it instantly. And it was not just the hybrid idea. The system launched huge hits like Animal Crossing, New Horizons, Super Smash Bros. Ultimate, and The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, alongside massive Mario successes such as Super.
What's the top 5 selling game of all time? There's PS2, the PS4. Is Nintendo Wii one of them? Nintendo Wii, Game Boy Advance, Nintendo Switch. I think so, right?
Super Mario Odyssey, and Mario Kart 8 Deluxe. Even though the Switch arrived years after the PS4 and Xbox One.
Sorry, pause again. But when I ever get successful off of YouTube or for the science job I will be doing, I would be doing marathon live stream. I swear to God. I was gonna do the first. No. First one was gonna be PlayStation, like PlayStation Iconic America. Yeah, I like that. And it would be 5 games top of my 5 classic. Be a lot of games too. No spin-offs. No spin-off. And the next one, Super Mario Maker. Play all the Mario games from 85 to. That's all I got for right now. And Grand Theft
One, it ended up dominating the generation. Ironically, while the Wii U became one of Nintendo's worst-selling consoles, the Switch became Nintendo's best-selling console ever, with over 155 million units sold.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, the PlayStation 4 still reached over 117 million, while Microsoft sold about 58 million Xbox One consoles. From disaster to domination, Nintendo pulled off one of the greatest comebacks in gaming history. That brings us to the final chapter, the 9th generation, where games load in seconds, worlds feel bigger than ever, and the console war begins to evolve. Microsoft entered first in 2020 with 2 consoles. The $499 Xbox Series X focused on true 4K performance, while the smaller, all-digital Series S launched at $299, offering next-gen gaming at a lower price. Both systems supported backward compatibility all the way back to the original Xbox, connecting 4 generations of games. At the same time, titles like Halo Infinite, Microsoft Flight Simulator, and Forza Horizon 5 showed what the new hardware could really do. But the real shift was bigger than hardware. Microsoft pushed Xbox Game Pass, a monthly subscription that gives players access to over 1,000 games across Xbox, PC, phones, and tablets, becoming the Netflix of gaming. To grow that library, Microsoft went on a massive buying spree. They bought Mojang for $2.5 billion to acquire Minecraft, Bethesda for $7.5 billion, gaining series like Doom, Fallout, and The Elder Scrolls, and then Activision Blizzard for a record $68.7 billion, the biggest deal in gaming history, adding franchises such as Call of Duty,
Bravo team offloads here. Alpha team stays on board to land downrange.
Diablo,
And you will not confront the darkness alone.
Overwatch,
All I need.
and World of Warcraft.
And World of Warcraft like
By February 2024, Game Pass had reached 34 million paid subscribers. Microsoft now aims for 100 million by 2030, expanding to more devices, potentially even the PlayStation, a move that could change the console subscribers. Microsoft now aims for 100 million by 2030, expanding to more devices, potentially even the PlayStation, a move that could change the console war forever. Just 2 days after the new Xbox consoles launched, Sony released the PlayStation 5. Like Xbox, Sony offered two versions, a standard model with a disk drive and a more affordable digital-only edition. Its ultra-fast hardware loads huge worlds in seconds, while sharp 4K visuals and support for up to 120 frames per second make games feel smoother than ever. The DualSense controller pushed immersion further, with adaptive triggers and detailed haptics that let players feel the action in their hands. Sony backed the system with major exclusives, like Gran Turismo 7, God of War, Ragnarok, and Marvel's Spider-Man 2. Both the PS5 and Xbox Series X and Series S launched during the pandemic. So, despite huge demand, supply could not keep up. For months, finding a PS5 or Series X felt almost impossible, like winning a battle royale in real life. Once stock returned, sales surged, and the PlayStation 5 quickly took the lead. Sony raised the bar again in 2024 with the release of the PlayStation 5 Pro, now the most powerful console available, featuring a faster GPU, improved ray tracing, and introducing AI-driven upscaling technology that pushes visuals even further. Then came the Nintendo Switch 2 in June 2025. Building on the huge success of the first Switch, Nintendo upgraded the hybrid formula with 4K visuals on TV, a 1080p HDR handheld screen, and magnetic Joy-Con 2 controllers. Mario Kart World launched as the first true open-world Mario Kart, while Donkey Kong Bonanza brought large-scale destruction. Many original Switch titles also received upgraded versions, including Street Fighter VI, The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild, and Tears of the Kingdom. But there was huge backlash over the price. While the original Switch launched at $299, the Switch 2 arrived at $449, with many new games priced at $80. Even so, it became Nintendo's fastest-selling console, passing 17 million units in under a year. Meanwhile, the Xbox Series X and Series S have reached around 30 million units combined. But one console clearly dominates this generation: the PlayStation 5, which has already sold over 92 million units. An absolutely massive number this early in its life cycle. From simple dots on a screen to powerful machines loading entire worlds in seconds, it is incredible how much game consoles have evolved. If you enjoy these videos, you can become a member for $5 per month to get early access to new videos, and your name will be added to the credits. We could really use your support right now. Truly, thank you. See you in the next evolution.
In the next evolution too. What a great video. What a great video. Sorry about sorry for not like talking a lot, y'all. My mom was in the shower. She was right by me. Not like right by me in my back. So sorry about that. I why I talk out loud. But what a video. Evolution of video game. Also, I like it. Like it. This video over 48. Holy crap. What the hell? I'm gonna go ahead and end the video. If you guys like this video, if you thought I was really talking that video, thumbs up, subscribe to my channel. If you want this content like this, no, just use my other video. Like this, you guys in there. Peace out, Mac.